Hey guys, welcome back to the sculpture. Today in this video, we are going to be continuing the sculpture. And I don't have a lot of details in the figure just yet. I just have a very general structure to the figure. But the last things I worked on were this mountain of skulls and the shield. What we're going to work on today are the hands, both these hands, the feet, a little bit more details on the feet, and maybe a little bit more on the drapery. For the drapery, I am going to need to set up a drapery study so I can really sculpt the folds of the drapery. Drapery is very difficult to sculpt. And so just a little aside of the history of Viriathus, he's kind of a fascinating guy. He was a Lusitanian warrior in Roman times that he almost like single-handedly with a small tribe of warriors held back Roman expansion in Iberia, which is modern-day Portugal and Spain. And he kind of did these fighting techniques of like attacking the Romans and then retreating, so the Romans couldn't really fight in the terrain that is modern-day Portugal. Portugal is very mountainous, and typically Viriathus is not depicted as this muscle-bound warrior, but that's what I'm doing with this. The only reason he was defeated was because he was stabbed by two of his warriors. They were traitors, so that's how the Romans conquered modern-day Portugal. So that's the only reason that they defeated this guy. They made a deal with some people in his camp and they assassinated him. So when you keep that in mind, you also have to keep that idea into the sculpture. Like, how can you depict that in the sculpture? What I have is maybe the mound of skulls that belong to the Romans. You have Viriathus' shield. I am missing his helmet and sword. The sword is pretty interesting looking because the Lusitanians used a very short, curved sword while fighting. So that's what I plan on doing here. I was thinking about putting it in his hand, but when you have something like this that's terracotta and you fire it, like if you were to put something as thin as a sword like this, it might break. So I'm probably not going to do that. I might put the sword laying down on the ground next to the shield. And we'll work a little bit more on the structure of the armature, or the drapery, which is essentially the armature. So keep in mind that this sculpture is full-on clay. So it doesn't have any armature inside. So it's very sensitive. Like, you don't want to like move this around, and it could still break because it only has this foot, the drapery, this, and this holding it up. The entire weight of the sculpture is just clay, and I think it's like around 40 pounds, so it's quite heavy. So what I did, I took a couple photos of my hand so I can tell exactly what's happening. This appears to be a little bit short, so I'm going to add a little bit more to the fingers. Instead of having the hand face this way, I think I'm going to have it with my the fingers kind of coming out. This seems to be a kind of an unnatural position. So what I'm going to do is just kind of scrape all of this out. So you guys can see, just having this hand down makes it a little bit more natural. If I was going to have the hand with a fist, it wouldn't make sense to have it like this far down. So it has to be a little, it would have to be like upright. So if you drop it like this, it makes a little bit more sense. I worked a little bit on the hand and I left it at a little bit of a rough state because I don't want to add too many details at this point. And the reason is because if I finish this hand entirely and then as I sculpt the figure I realize that it's a little bit too big or too small, I don't want to lose time by just redoing the entire hand. So if you leave it at this rough kind of point where the structure is fairly done, as you go towards the sculpture, you can start making a little bit more changes and then take it to a higher degree of finish. Thanks artists for watching this video and stay tuned for the next videos on finishing the sculpture. I'm pretty close to finishing. Right now I'm just doing the rough draft of the sculpture and I'm working on the little details later on, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching.